And the European Union is set to classify Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terror group in part of its role in the death of thousands of anti-government protesters. The elite militia reports directly to Iran's supreme leader and is seen as a key force keeping the Islamic Republic in power. Sanctions against the paramilitary unit are also likely. The EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, described the bloc's reasoning.
This will put them on the same footing with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Daesh. If you act as a terrorist, you should also be treated as terrorist.
DW Brussels correspondent Teri Schultz is at the European Council headquarters for the meeting of foreign ministers. So, Teri, tell us about the measures being taken against the Iranian regime today.
Sarah, there are a couple of different tracks of sanctions that are expected to be approved by foreign ministers today. One of them is against members of the regime and entities that are believed to have been involved in this brutal crackdown against Iranian protesters. But the other one, and the one that the EU's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas was referring to there, is actually going to be the headline out of this meeting, and that is that the Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, this elite military unit you mentioned, is going to be classified as a foreign terrorist organization. Much like ISIS or Al-Qaeda. This is something that has been in the works for years. Many countries have wanted to do this earlier, but it is really just this brutal behavior by the regime that has accumulated the pressure and made them decide to put it on the foreign terrorist list. Some individuals in that group already have been under sanctions, but the EU hopes this sends a strong message to the regime itself today.
What does it mean to be classified as a terror group by the EU? What are the consequences of that?
The sanctions against the IRGC as a whole are much like those put on individuals. If there are any bank accounts here in the EU, they'll be frozen. Individuals and entities are now forbidden from doing business with them. They also can't travel into the EU. I'm not sure how much of that has been happening, but certainly there will be more visibility of what their actions are, how they get their money, how they continue to fund their own repression. And that is something the EU now will be cracking down on with this legal decision behind them.
Does the EU, what is the perception of just how much the EU has sway over the actions of the Iranian regime?
Well, when you look at how many sanctions are already on the Iranian regime and even on members of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, you're right to wonder. It's not clear. They're not sure. But this designation today is, as they would describe it, one of the strongest tools in their toolbox. And we should also point out that the IRGC is very much responsible for Iran's help to Russia in providing missiles and other military support for Russia's war on Ukraine. So surely they're hoping that this cutting off their bank accounts and their ability to do business in the EU may also have an effect there, Sarah.
DW's Teri Schultz in Brussels. Thank you. Let's take a closer look at the IRGC, the Islamist Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran, who they are, the role they play in Iran, and what might come next.
The Guards are estimated to number between 150,000 and 200,000 active personnel. They have their own army, navy, and air force. A parallel military whose official role is to protect the legacy of the Islamic Revolution of 1979. They're led by Mohammad Pakpour, who reports directly to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, bypassing the government and president. The Guards are largely insulated from the economic pressures felt by Iranians, due to their control over defense, oil and gas, construction and telecommunications concerns worth billions of dollars, while ordinary Iranians suffer under sanctions, fueling more resentment against the Guards and the theocratic regime. The Guards have also dealt with Iran's proxy forces in the Middle East, the so-called Axis of Resistance, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and Houthi rebels in Yemen. Multiple countries have labeled the Revolutionary Guards a terrorist organization. This has made them a prime target in recent years. In 2020, a U.S. airstrike took out the head of the Al-Quds Force, an elite unit within the Guards. And last summer, Israeli airstrikes killed much of the Guard's senior leadership. Despite those losses and significant damage done to its proxies Hamas and Hezbollah, the Revolutionary Guards have maintained their position. Their closeness to the supreme leader makes them indispensable to the regime and makes them a priority target for any international intervention.